And it appears to be live now. Okay, let's send out some tweets and then we can get chatting.
Okay. Pretend like I use Twitter.
Hmm?
Pretend like I still use Twitter.
I use Twitter. I tweeted you about this, did I not?
I know. I'm so bad at using Twitter though. Like I go on once a week and I just.
I've really started working on it, and I quite enjoy it now.
I used to use it a lot when I used to do musical theatre and stuff. I used it like every day, but those days ago. Okay.
There we go. That's it. Okay. So now people have tweeted, and hopefully folk will come along and we'll join in, and we can talk some nonsense about cosplay and whatnot. Right, let me see. Have I done all that? Let's get the show on the road. I'm going to have some tea first.
Oh, so jealous.
Okay, so hi guys, welcome to the Sorenzo Prop Show. The second one this month, is it? No, yeah, yay, 2 in a row. That's not too bad. So yeah, this I don't really know what the show is all about. I kind of get people in, we talk about cosplay and prop making and going to conventions and all sorts of geeky stuff. You get to know a bit about them and they get to answer some of your questions. We have the Q&A app running if you want to ask some questions. So I don't actually know how you get to it, but look for a little speech bubble that says Q&A, and then you can ask some questions. And if you can't find that, you can always just tweet or Facebook or text us or something like that, and hopefully we'll answer them. But we have got Ross E Cobb Cosplay joining us live. So Ross, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I should have prepared like this because I watched this bit. Hi, I'm Ross. I'm 25. I don't tell people my real age normally. I'm 19.
19. Stick with that.
And yeah, I just love making stuff. Give myself challenges. I like to kind of do a little bit of everything. Not particularly well, but well enough that no one ever knows. Really into makeup.
Bit of a lie right there. I like to
totally agree to disagree, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I'm mainly into sort of Disney things. There's a lot of stuff I'm into that I don't ever cosplay just because I don't really know enough about it, and I don't want to be that kind of person that's dressed as Captain America and someone goes, "Oh, I love in the second series of the comic," and I'll be like, so kind of there's a lot of things that I'm very geeky about that I kind of keep on the down low. But hopefully, kind of in the next sort of year, I'm going to bring some of those things out into the world. Is that a cat I hear?
Yeah, Charlie's joining us. Hello. Yeah, just keep quiet, okay? We're talking. So you introduce yourself, but you need to tell people what you are probably most known for at this present moment in time. What happened a couple of months ago?
Oh, so this one I know. They'll be like, I don't know. What are you talking about? Back in March, yes, let's say March.
Yeah.
I won the costume championship for LFCC with my Broadway Ursula costume.
Yes, you did. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna.
It seems like a lifetime ago now. Like I still see people and they go, "Well done," and I'm like, "What?" It was so long ago.
I'm gonna see if I can get a photograph of that up because it is fantastic. How do I screen share now? This is the problem.
I like to think of it as the most fabulous middle-aged woman you'll ever see.
There we go. I think that's sharing now. Hopefully,
that's me.
See that. That's just the first picture I pulled up, but you can go on Ross's Facebook page.
That's one of my favorite pictures.
It is pretty good.
That's me being a political anarchist. I'm giving the finger to our government. P.S. Congratulations, Scotland. Woo! Keeping it real.
Oh, let's not get into politics on the
Can you imagine? Get cosplay. Let's talk politics tonight.
Oh god, no, that would go horribly
Congrats,
wrong.
Though. I mean, you know.
We probably get arrested or something, yeah.
But no way.
Let's stick to cosplay unless we run out of cosplay stuff to talk about. Then we can go on to politics and what happened. But right, okay. So we know a little bit about you. So I want to find out a little bit more. I'm sure everybody else does. So how did you get into this whole cosplay malarkey? Tell us a little bit about your past. I know you've got quite a back catalogue of cosplays. I was going through your Facebook page last night, and there's some I've never even seen.
I kind of forget about everything. I've kind of got like, you know, early onset Alzheimer's about these kind of things. So I kind of forget anything I haven't made in the past 20 minutes. But yeah, I got involved back in 2009, I want to say 2000. Yeah, I'm sure it's 2009. When I was modeling a costume for a friend at a German Open Day, which is
what's a German?
Not really. So it's kind of complicated to explain. So in Germany, musical theatre is huge, and they have open days where you can go backstage. You can see like they show you costumes and things, and they encourage fans to dress up. And that's like an open day. So it was the Starlight Express one, which is an Angela Weber musical about trains. And I wore one of her costumes she'd made because she was at that point she just graduated from doing a theatrical costume design degree, and she'd made them as part of her degree, and also varying stages because obviously she was a fan of the show. So I went to that, and then I went again to the MCM in October that year, and I was kind of out of it for a hot sort of I think it was just over a year, and then. So my friend's doing a cats group, and she said she designed a cat based on her own cat that she had at the time, who sadly passed away since. Sad, he was so cute. I kind of lived there with people's cats because I've never had my own cat, so everyone's cats are kind of my cat at heart. Yeah, so that's kind of where I came from, and I did that for I think it was probably 2012ish. So I did it for a couple of years. I just did cats. And I kind of started making things of my own, sort of more things I wanted to step out and do. Because I've kind of been all the cats I'd want to be, which is
all
scary.
the cats.
To like 30. I mean, there's not all of them are photographed, but I have worn effectively all the cats I'd ever want. So yeah, I kind of stepped into things like Disney. Peter Pan was the first costume I made with the help of a friend. It's all kind of just come from there, and I kind of just set myself challenges. And like, I think the first big one, and the first one that people kind of started to recognize what I was doing in costuming was Lord Farquaad, which was LFCC 2013, I want to say, the summer one, which is in the style of the musical where he's like down on his knees and got little legs. Used a picture of him. Yeah, and that's kind of the first time people sort of decided to see what I was doing and things and be interested. And it's all kind of just grown from there. Kind of that feels like it's always surprised me to think back how far that was, because to me it only seems like sort of last year, but it's been a good couple of years since then. I've made quite a few things. I'm really bad at rewearing because the construction is what I really enjoy. So I'll tend to make like a costume for each day for a convention. Although I've got to say, currently I've got no costumes complete for May Expo in 2 weeks.
So you're gonna have to wear something you've worn already.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna finish my costumes.
Finish it.
Two of them are really simple. Two of them will take, I think, probably a day or two to complete.
Have you announced?
Pinocchio is still killing me. Sorry.
Have you announced what you're wearing yet? Have you announced what you're
I haven't made an official announcement, but like I haven't been. I've been talking about it. So on Friday, I'm doing Barney Rubble. We've got a Flintstone group.
Oh, amazing!
Which I'm quite excited for. I haven't started that yet. Saturday, I'm doing Pinocchio, which I've pretty much finished. I'm going to change halfway through because I'm doing like a puppet, so I've got like wooden limbs, and also it's proportional, so it's going to be hell to wear. So I'm going to do that for half a day, and then I'm going to change into Lady Tremaine for the latter half of the day, and then on Sunday I'm going to do a new Peter Pan costume I'm going to make this weekend.
A new Peter Pan.
I do love Peter Pan. He's one of my favorite. I think this will be my 4th version of him, but I'm never ever happy with it. I always finish it. I'm like, this is not.
So what do you mean by version? Are you just like you upgrade it slightly or make it a little bit, or is there like?
I tend to keep like one piece and carry it through. My first one I made for some reason out of lycra. I don't know why. When I look back at pictures, I think, why did I do that? I mean, like, I think it's because it was the only kind of fabric I was really used to working with because of Cat's costumes were made from lycra.
Yeah.
And then I've kind of progressed. I'm trying not to do what I do with every costume, is where I over detail everything, and I find like I think about the kind of like the period of it and the kind of fabrics as kind of people could get at and things like that. And I'm trying not to do that with Peter Pan, but it's really hard.
It's simple.
Yes, I'm trying to be simple because it is just a simple costume at the end of the day.
I think that's the beauty with the Disney stuff, is you can make some really, really simple costumes
Yeah.
All like that. When you get into things like armor and League of Legends and stuff, like gets crazy with what you have to build. But it's nice just to
Oh.
put together some material and make something simple.
It's I see. I always have whenever I talk to people about doing Disney costumes, I always say the thing is you can take as much from it as you want, because a lot, especially with the early animation, they couldn't do. There's no way an animator was going to draw a really detailed bit of fabric on a costume, because that's going to be like a million hours on that one character, which they're never going to put in. Like if you look at like things like Frozen and Tangled, like it's a blessing and a curse, because things like Elsa's costume, like no one's ever going to be able to replicate that properly,
Yeah.
because it's so perfectly detailed. Whereas if it had been 2D animation, it'd be so easy to replicate in various guises.
So, what was your most complicated piece? I think I know the answer to this.
People always ask this, and they always think I'm going to say that it's Ursula, because I mean it is, but the way I kind of whatever I'm working on is always the most complicated thing I'm doing, because I always learn something new for each costume I make. But I mean it is Ursula, because I had to learn so many new, like 80% of the things I used, and it was the first time I used them. I did resin casting. I made a clay shell, and I made a mold of that, and that's what I used to that. I made and shaped foam for the silhouette and things. And the tentacles that had, I think it was like 210 pieces per tentacle. I don't know exactly, but I know it was too many.
Yeah.
I remember kind of that week before, and I was sticking them together, and I kind of got to a point where I was like, I've done the numbers wrong. These aren't right. And I had to kind of like cry at 3 o'clock in the morning, cutting out pieces and trying to take off my fingers. It was such a challenge. I mean, like I do my favorite part, because I'm one of the kind of person, I'm always lucky, touch wood, but I'm not the kind of person that ends up like the day before the convention, like power sewing and crying. I normally finish like a week or so before, so I can feel like it's okay, I can relax, enjoy myself. But this one, I remember like we were in bed, and I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I thought I haven't painted the screws, so I got out of bed and painted the screws green. So like literally, and then 2 hours, like, an hour later, I got out of bed, started doing makeup, got into costume, went down. I thought like this is like I've never felt so shady in all my life.
I'm just trying to get a photograph of the tentacles up.
And there they are.
Here they are. So,
enveloping my sofa.
how were they made? Because I never figured this out.
It's so simple, and the thing is, like, I feel like such a fraud, because I was the guys that won, Kerry and Kenny, who won the duo runner-up. Their costume made effectively the same thing. It's just EVA foam. Obviously, they put so much like effort and like detail into what they've done with theirs. And mine, it's sort of like a funky ayo hex. There they are. And they're literally just heat blasted in the middle, and folded in half, and then all stuck together. I spent a lot of time looking at the costumes. There's several versions of the costume they used throughout the show.
Pictures here.
And I kind of went for the one that I thought would be most usable for walking around a convention hall. And yeah, so I just kind of looked at the. I bought the like Disney for all their musicals. They bring up like effectively what I like to call a Bible of like pictures and like designs. The designer, costume designer, and I looked at a lot of her references, and like they had a whole separate person in just for like the logistics of the tentacles. So it's really interesting to read things about like they have hooks on the end, and they were all put at very specific angles to avoid getting tangled when she was walking and things. It just blew my mind, because I'm really lucky. All my technical costumes are ones that I've actually copied from musicals or things, because like for me, I don't ever to work out the technical things behind this kind of things. Like Lord Farquaad, the way they use his legs and things, is so clever. It's very simple, relatively, when you haven't constructed it. But
well, yeah.
Sorry,
Lord Farquaad, was that from a musical as well?
Yeah, he's it's based on the musical design. His main costume in that.
Excellent. I didn't know that.
So yeah, I'm okay, because I'm doing Pinocchio, and I'm not copying any musical or anything from that. So let's hope it stays together. No, it's going quite well. I'm actually happy now. Normally, I'm the kind of person I hate everything I make right up until I sell it on to someone else. But I'm actually at a point where I like it, which is, I mean, that will change later, I'm sure. Get back to making stuff.
So what sort of training have you had, or have you just sort of learned as you went?
In terms of costuming, it's literally just been as I go. But I've always made stuff, and my mum, she always used to make me costumes. I used to make stuff with her. I did textiles at school. I did it as GCSE, and I failed my GCSE textiles.
Wow.
So I must go in with my LSCC award at some point and
Yeah.
be like,
I'm going to
"Hi."
Dragon Con, bitches.
Yeah. No, but yeah, there's nothing in that. Just really interests me, like the construction and things behind it, and I always find it very interesting. I watch a lot of tutorials, read a lot of things and how people do things. I cut
Where
that off really quick. I should have rounded that statement off, shouldn't I?
all right.
I'm sorry, please.
That's all right. You never know if you've just frozen or whatnot, but no, that's all good.
No.
So let me see. What I've lost my questions. I have some questions prepared here. Yeah. Where do you do all your work? Because like Ursula is like that's quite a big costume. So do you have a space or do you just
No, I really like. I kind of like. I feel so sorry for my mum because we live in quite a small house, and so when I make things like that big, like there's no room in our house for anything else. Like that picture where the tentacles were enveloping the sofa, like that wasn't me being funny. That was literally just how they were. Because that's what had to be in my house. I do most of my work sort of in our living room. Um, sorry, mum. Yeah, or our kitchen. Like it's not really. There's no. Like, I don't really have a space as such. Although I do technically have a spare room that I'm meant to be using for crafting. But
quite
it's
a
got all
big
my uni stuff in it still. It's me in our driveway that we also don't use.
apart from test fitting.
Just for casual photo shoots of me looking grumpy in costume.
That's amazing. It's always a problem though, isn't it? When you get to cosplay, you do get bigger and more ambitious.
Yeah.
You run out of space, which is quite often a problem.
I do look forward. All the costumes I have planned for the rest of the year are quite small, and that's very exciting. Like I'm not gonna have to because whenever I meet Roxy in London, she's always like she expects me to come with like 5 bags. She's I just went up to stay with her recently. And I took like just like a small bag, and she was like, "I've never seen you with so little stuff." But it was rammed. I had like 12 pairs of clothes. I was there for one day.
Cosplay problems, eh?
I know. First world issues.
So you've spoken a little bit what you've got in the work. We might come back to that. What are your aspirations with cosplay, or is it going to be a hobby, or do you see it becoming anything bigger and better? Or
I don't know. I think it's difficult. Unless you do something like you guys who do props and things. I think it's hard to kind of make a career in this country from it. Like once a month or so, I'll see someone on Facebook saying like, "I'm giving up on my cosplay career. I can't like get serious about it." And like for me, like it's not something like people think that it's something you can just make a career from, and it's not at all. Like if you're a model, like an actual model, and you do cosplaying as well, you can use that and make it part of your career. Or if you make things like props and such, or you do commission work, you can. But I don't think you can actually be a cosplayer in this country and make it a career. But for me, like that's never been a thing, and I've never prior to this year wanted to do any kind of competitive cosplay. It was just like I set myself some challenges of things that I never wanted to do in cosplay. And I was like, this year I'm going to do some things that I don't want to do just to push myself because like it is fun. The whole for me, I've always been really lucky. I've always had fun in all the cosplay stuff I've always done. But I kind of just felt like I was very comfortable in what I was doing. Like I was just making like Disney characters that I liked. And it wasn't very like once in a while I do something big-ish. And I kind of just thought like I want to push myself and do things that I know I'm not going to be either comfortable doing or that I didn't want to especially do to see what it's like. So I had such fun doing the competitive side of cosplay. Like I get it's not like you can't. It's not as relaxed as a normal con because you're constantly on a schedule, especially in the size of costume that I had. Like we decided on the Sunday we were going to take half a day out of costume and just go and look around because it was impossible to walk around in that costume. Because I was shuffling everywhere. It's like walking a marathon, well, shuffling a marathon. So like it's very different to just cosplaying because we're on a schedule and things, and you've effectively the weekend's not your own. You're owned by what you've got to do. But it was such fun, and like I had such fun with Kenny and Carey again, who won the runner-up for the duo, which had such great fun, such a laugh. As everyone was so nice. Obviously, like I think a lot of people like me only have the idea of what Heroes of Cosplay have told us about competitive cosplay. So I kind of I went in thinking it would be a lot more like strict and things, and it wasn't. It was totally fine. It was fun. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things. So much went wrong for me that weekend. If you get bored, please just shout out. But so the first thing that happened was I walked in for our prejudging, and my costume at this point was pristine, and I was like, okay, I'm really happy with how I look. Walked in, I was like, hello, and one of my nails went ding,
Oh
and
my
because of the costume,
God, no way,
right, and because of and I wanted to be subtle and try and pick it up. But I knew because of the costume I couldn't bend down, so I was like, I'm really sorry. Could someone pick my nail up for me? And I've completely forgotten his name.
Bill.
Yeah, thank you. Bill, who was in like a full suit of armor, went, yeah, I'll get that for you, and bent down and picked it up. And I was like, this does not bode well. And then, yeah, so that happened. I thought, well, that bodes well, doesn't it? That's the first thing you're going to think. Like, he came in, his nails flew off. So that happened. And then we went back eventually after we did some shoots and things. Went back to the hotel. I took my dress off, and I was just there in like my lingerie, looking like a plus size middle aged hooker. I went to put my dress back on, and my zip split, and we were like, oh. And I whole time I was just thinking, it's okay if it doesn't fit. I'll just go down and say I'm really sorry. I've had a problem with my costume. I have to drop out. I was totally cool with it. We managed to like cut the zip and get it back together. And I went down, did the first one, obviously got through to the top 10. Second day, got the costume on, and I put it on. Everything looked so much better. And like Holly and Roxy, I was staying with, they said like, you look so much better today. Like, I don't know what it is about the costume. Maybe it's the makeup. You know, went down, walked through the doors of the XL, and the heel on my shoe went.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, this could be the one. This could be the one. I was like, and again, I just thought, it's okay if I have to drop out. I have to drop out. All I really wanted to was get through to the top 10 in it anyway. So I shuffled down, went over to the UK cosplay area, and they hot glued the inside of my shoe and then duct taped around my boots. And they did the other one to make it, if anyone said anything, I could pretend it was a thing, like it was part of the design. And I obviously went on and it was absolutely fine. I did, however, throw those shoes away. I didn't take them home with me. But it was just so funny. It was just so many things that went wrong. And I just thought, like, you couldn't make it up. Like,
you know why you had those problems? Because you're one of these assholes that gets things finished before the con happens. You're not sweating.
That's what it was. I should have been pre-stressing.
Yeah. If
it's finally
until you walk in the door, then you have no problems. But if you're gonna take a week off before the con and relax,
I didn't. That time I didn't. That time I was working right up to the button. But sorry, go on.
What made you enter the competition? Because you touched on there about cosplaying as a profession in the UK, and you had no interest in doing a competition. Why did you all of a sudden decide to enter LSCC?
Well, as I said, it was one of the challenges I set myself. It was the first one I wrote down. I got a book, my cosplay book, and I wrote in the back. I think it's 12 I've got so far. And yeah, it was the first one I wrote down, like, to try my hand at competitive cosplay. And I looked into all the conventions that I knew that had some kind of competition, and I knew like how much of the convention it took over, and that was the only one that had kind of a prize. I thought, like, not that I was aiming to win or anything, but I thought, like, if I'm going to aim for something, I want to aim for a prize that's going to be, I'm going to feel like I've achieved something. Because a lot of them, like, I remember reading one of them when it was like, you can win a photo shoot, and I was like, I could have done like 12 photo shoots in that time. So it just kind of felt like I thought, like, if I'm going to go for something, I want at least go for something that I know there's a potential of winning something exciting. Do you know what I mean? In the long run of it. But like, I wasn't ever entering thinking like, I'm going to win and go to DragonCon. Like, I wasn't a thought at all. It was literally, and also partly because I knew if I did a competition, I could make a really big costume and spend loads of money and be like, it's okay because it's for a competition. Like, that's the costume I've always wanted to make, and I knew I just couldn't be like, I'm going to spend this much money making a costume that's going to take me forever. But I could justify it if it was for a greater cause, you know?
Yeah. I entered LSCC. I think I told you that. I entered the competition and had to pull out because, unfortunately, I do this for a living, and when getting in the way. But I set myself the exact same goals. I was like, I want to enter a decent sized prestigious cosplay competition. But I put on my little list, it says, and you better fucking win it too. But maybe next year LSCC.
I think it's good. I think it's good to have like ambition, like to aim high. I know a lot of the guys involved were really like they were in it to win it. Like that's what they were there for. And we had a group on Facebook, and they were all like, even a couple of weeks afterwards, they were talking about, like, I'm starting for next year now. Got a plan, things. But I do remember on the Friday when I was in the Novotel entrance trying to print off my work in progress book, one of the other competitors came and showed me the list of people that were entering, and I think at that point, originally it was going to be 30, I think, and I think at this point it was at 26. I don't know how many it was in the end, but I remember like 5 or 6 of the ones that I'd looked at that list and gone, oh, I'm really excited to see that, weren't there on the day. Like, I remember there was the diva from the Fifth Element, and I thought, like, that's gonna be such a cool costume to see. Obviously she wasn't there, I didn't see her. But I know things happen. I remember the year before, one of my friends, she entered, and she went along, and because of some misunderstanding, she couldn't do her sketch, and her sketch had 2 people she was going to be fighting with. Because they hadn't been like pre-assessed or whatever, she couldn't do it, so she dropped out because she didn't have a skit. And obviously, half of it was the skit, half of it was the costume.
That's a shame. That's a shame. Nothing worse than spending months working on something and then having to pull out at the last minute. You touched on something that I found quite interesting when I asked about your aspirations and stuff. Cosplay as a career, and I've not actually seen anybody in the UK saying, "Oh, I'm giving up on my career as cosplay," because I didn't really think that people thought of it like that. But it's obvious from like all the guys in the States that are, you know, traveling the world. You know, you got Jessica Negri and stuff like that, who, you know, some people say they're models, but they actually are cosplayers.
Yeah.
But why do you think you can't make a career of it here in the UK? Any ideas?
I don't think it's made. I think it's made the kind of impact yet here that it has in America. I mean, I think it will get there for sure. But I don't think, and obviously a lot of the as you were saying, a lot of the cosplayers who do make a career from cosplaying in America, they're not just cosplayers. Like Yaya, she's an entire business, isn't she? She's got her she makes costume pieces, she sells print, she does modeling, and obviously she's a guest. So like she doesn't just turn up in costumes and take some cute pictures.
But that all started from cosplay, though.
Yeah, it all came from there, of course. But I don't think we've kind of made that cultural impact yet, whereby it's possible. I do think we'll get there for sure. But I think a lot of people just have unrealistic views, because obviously America's what we aspire to be in terms of our con scene. I think anyway.
Oh yeah.
I kind of just don't feel like we're in that place yet. I think it's possible to make a career from people who do things, but I think you can do it just from cosplaying. I think you could be someone who makes things and also cosplay, and kind of as a joint thing. But I think you would be making the majority of it from. Because I don't think I just don't feel like it's that big of a deal that people are that interested yet in cosplayers.
Yeah, I find that people are a little bit unrealistic about things. One of my biggest gripes about the whole sort of cosplay scene is this whole sort of striving for likes and shares and retweets as to how many people follow you on Facebook, this sort of thing, and they seem to gauge that as success, you know, when ultimately it's not, because a lot of these people who do have a lot of Facebook likes, a lot of them turn out to be, you know, ghost account, dormant accounts that
indeed
good. And there's one thing you always hear.
I admin for some friends, and I know that in terms of reach, like they've got a lot more likes than me. But in terms of reach, like it's completely different. That's what it comes down to, like what it goes to, who sees it. But I mean, for me, like it's always been a thing of like I would happily have like 100 people who are actually interested in what I'm doing than 14 billion who, you know, like one of them looks once a week. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not. For me, I'd rather have people who are genuinely interested. And I feel like I'm very lucky that I do have that. I mean, not all. I don't know how many I've got right now. It's like 3,717. Yeah, like I don't. Obviously, they're not all constantly engaged in what I'm doing, but like I do feel like the people that are there are interested, and I do appreciate the kind of response I get from people. But I do think that's kind of a lot to do with the kind of cosplays I do, and the kind of the stuff I put out there. I think it's very important to be very active with your page, because obviously that keeps people interested, and like for me, it keeps me interested, because like when I'm not feeling something, like a lot of the costume pieces I post now, I'm like, I don't really like it, but it's really good. I know what you're talking about, and I kind of think, oh, maybe just being hard on myself then. So I do think the cosplay pages are very good, but I totally agree with you that I think people do focus on it being that's what it's about, and it's not. Like I only set up a page because when I did Lord Farquaad, so many people said to me like, "Oh, have you got a page? I'd love to look at your work." And I was like, "Oh no." So I came back and set one up. But I mean, I did feel so awkward for like the first week when I had like 4 likes. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to delete it. It's embarrassing.
It's your mum and your gran, and
when it comes up on Time Hop, and it's like me being like, someone please like my Facebook page. I feel like a cringe. But yeah, I do. I always just feel like whenever after cons and you get that huge boost of people that like your page, you're like, it's so like mind blowing.
Yeah, definitely. As I think people get a little bit too carried away with it, and that's all they strive for. Which it's disappointing sometimes because you see people and you know, if they went about it in a different way, they might be a lot happier doing it for the right reasons instead of getting these, you know, imaginary, you know, numbers appearing on their page.
It is sad. I mean, I think there's so many people that are like that who are talented, but they'll do things that are maybe not necessarily like what they like, that they know people will like, and that will bring them likes. And like, and people know it, and it reflects on them, and people like say, "Oh, that person's doing it," because it's obvious when people are just doing things for the likes.
Do you think it's different for boys and girls cosplay?
Totally different for boys and girls, I think. Like, I think being a guy in cosplay, like it's so much harder. Like, you can be a very talented guy and not get the acknowledgement someone with a fantastic rack. And I know that's a really bad thing to say because feminism and stuff.
If you had boobs, you would be a superstar touring the world cosplaying. Right?
I would if I had a great rack. Like no one would care how good my paint jobs were. I think that's because of the audience that cons have.
Yeah.
Like they're more interested unless you do something that interests people and draws people in, or you're doing something that's really intricate and detailed. Like most people I met at LSCC didn't know who my character was because she doesn't look like the typical film version.
Yeah.
But they were all interested because it was such a like interesting and in-depth costume. I think one person came up to me at the convention and was like, "Oh my god, you're Broadway Ursula! I saw it and I loved it." And I was like, oh, "Me too!" So like it's for guys, I think it is a lot harder. But I don't think. I mean, it depends how you feel about it. Like for me, there have been times where I've felt like, and in fact, even in terms of men, like I know there are men who are gorgeous looking and tonk as hell. That's not an example of that, obviously. Who have like thousands and thousands of likes, and maybe their costume work isn't as strong as other people I know. And there have been times I felt like, oh, do you know what I mean? Like it's just, but it's not what it's about. And like it's so easy to get just like drawn into it, I think. But I don't think like so many of my friends will say to me like, oh, I feel really bad about this, whatever, or things this affect. And you just think like, but that's not what it's about. But I totally understand how it's so easy to get drawn into thinking like that's what matters, the like, acknowledgement and things. But it's as long as you're having fun at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. And that's all I ever aim for at a convention.
That's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Having fun.
Yes.
So what conventions have you got lined up? I know you're going to be at MCM Expo in a couple of weeks. What else have you got lined up?
Okay, so here's my rough plan for the year. These are the guaranteed ones. So definitely MCM, definitely LFCC in July, and also LAG. Hang on, London Anime LAGC, which I'm a guest at. I've got
amazing.
2 costume plans that I'm really excited about. You know, it'd be good if I was a really good guest and like knew those dates off by hand, and I could tell you all about the convention. But
I've got a diary that's got every con in the country, but I don't have.
I want to say it's like around the 13th of July.
July, okay.
That could be a lie. That's a test for anyone that's a real fan of LAGC. Yeah, I've got 2 costume plans for that one. Sorry.
What venue is that?
At the moment, it's a secret venue at the moment. I'm not sure. I feel like it's at one of the universities.
Okay, so it's a small.
That could be a lie. But I will, however, after this post on my page, a long post about this convention. Yeah. Yes, I'm really excited for that one because I've never been to that before. It's always nice to try a different convention, I think. Obviously, Dragon Con is certainly happening for me, beginning of September. you know, I mean, that's. I'm also hoping. I'm just about to change jobs, and I'm hoping to go to D23, which is a Disney convention in America, which will be in the
Okay.
middle of August, which I'm really excited. It's every 2 years, and I kind of thought like, do I want to wait and go in 2 years' time? And I was like, I don't know if I want to. Like, I don't like to think that far ahead, kind of in my life. Like, when I have to think a year ahead, I think like, so I'm kind of thinking I'd like to do this year, so I'm going to push that one. I think as much as I can. Hopefully, I'm going to book that after MCM, and in the latter part of this year, it's the MCM October and the Winter LFCC for me.
Well, that's
So
really,
I haven't completely decided on Winter LFCC, but I'm sure I'll go.
yeah.
Um, I'd really like to try and get to Birmingham and Manchester, but I feel like Manchester is August and that's not going to happen. But like Birmingham, every time there is a Birmingham convention, I see pictures from the convention and it always looks so good, and like the quality of costumes, because obviously coming down to London for people who are far up north is super expensive.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm very lucky; it's only like an hour and a half away. So in terms of travel, I pay like £12 return sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty handy. All right.
And obviously you get to London and like it's super expensive anyway. So like when you've got that already charged. But anyway, yeah. So I think like I'd be really interested to see a lot of the cosplayers who don't obviously come down to London as often. And also I'd really like, this isn't happening, but I'd really like to try and go to either a French or German con, because there's so many amazing German and French cosplayers I follow on Facebook, and I see at British conventions that come across. So I'd love to try and get to a European convention sort of within the next year.
No, that'd be awesome.
Or a Scottish one, or one in Scotland.
Scotland. We're gonna have to get you up for something.
Yeah, I think that's a thing.
What's that?
Is it Glasgow that has the MCM?
Yeah, Glasgow MCM, which is September.
I've heard good things. They've had one so far, I want to say.
No, they've had two.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I've heard good things though. I knew there'd been some before, but I knew it was a relatively new one. Also, a lot of the Irish cons seem really interesting. So I'm really interested in kind of trying to step out of going to the same three conventions.
Yeah, definitely. I had friends who was at the MCM in Belfast last month, and apparently it was amazing. I know there's quite a few cons happening in Dublin, but there's a couple of cosplay specific cons happening. I don't know much about them, what scale they're at, but I will definitely be keeping an eye on that sort of thing.
Should I also say I'd love to go to a CosCon event?
Yeah,
they sound like a really good.
There's quite a few of them coming up pretty soon.
They're really good, and if I lived in Scotland, I'd go to all of them and support them. So
well, we're gonna give the rest of the cons this year to sort of pack their bags and get ready to be annihilated, because CosCon is definitely going to take over the whole cosplay con scene.
I hope so.
So these ones are just sort of cash in their checks and get ready.
Right. They don't care. They don't care about us.
So you were judged at LSCC by Svetlana from Can We Props or Can We Cosplay, Yaya, Bill Duran from Punish Props, and there's the two French girls, wasn't it? What are they called?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Ash. Oh God, this is terrible. I'm so bad.
Yeah,
You're gonna hate me.
Right.
I'll look them up real quick, and then we'll pretend like I knew all along.
Look them up.
And I absolutely adore them. That's the worst part. I think they're so sweet. Whenever I speak to them, I always think they're such lovely girls. Okay. Ash. It's not gonna come up straight away, is it? It's not gonna be that easy. I'll find them. I'll find them.
That's okay. We'll put it in the show notes, but we should really research that.
I'm so sorry to both of you.
You've met some pretty awesome people from the cosplay world.
I've always kind of thought that like two of the biggest cosplayers that I admire are Yaya and Svetlana.
Yeah.
When I kind of knew that they were both there, I was thinking like that's a big deal, like because they are effectively in their two kind of areas. They're sort of the biggest cosplayers and the kind of people I look up to the most as cosplayers.
So is there anybody else that you would like to meet? Have you any heroes that you've already met?
There's so many people in like the British community that I admire, but I did musical theatre for quite a while, and I worked with a lot of people that I admire. I don't really have that kind of like starstruckness about anyone. So there's not so much people that I look up to. There's so many people that I admire though. There's a lot of American cosplayers that I talk to a lot that I'd love to meet. My good friend Richard Schaefer, who I'll be meeting when I go to D23.
Yeah.
Zach the Ripper, who does a lot of anime cosplayers. I'm sure he does. Sorry, Zach. Cosplays was where I was going with that. I really love his work. I love his makeup work. Who else there?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of okay. I found one of our wonderful French cosplay. I couldn't handle it. The pressure would kill me. No, I'll find the other one. I'll find her. But yeah, I mean, they were all so lovely. I got to speak to all three of the judges, five. Oh, it's like I was almost there. 5 of the judges externally, and they were all so sweet and like so interested. Obviously, I spoke to Bill with you. We had like a long conversation with Bill. He was such a lovely guy. I'd only recently before become aware of Bill's work, but like so many of his tutorials I realized I'd watched on like head casting and things.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit now, hasn't he?
But yeah, I didn't realize sort of how big he was until I looked at all his stuff and I was like, oh wow, yeah. So he's like, yeah, he's epic.
Yeah, it's strange. You can still get that. You can still come across these people that have been around for years and have like huge followings, but you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often anymore, but there are a few people that I've discovered like that.
There's someone I would love to meet, and ideally see one of their amazing workshops is, I think her name's Lightning Cosplay. I'm not sure where she's from. She's European, but her work is just ridiculous. And she's one of those people that I found. I think she's got something like 300,000 likes, and I was like, this person's just amazing. How is she not like huge?
She is on 86,000 likes. I believe it's Germany. It's not saying anything here. Oh wait, where's the about page?
The other French cosplayer was Anshella. There we go. I feel better now. I can sleep easy tonight.
Yeah. So Lightning Cosplay is German. Let me screw you.
I should have known. There's so many talented German cosplayers. I shared one today. One of my favorites, who I always see at conventions. That all her blows my mind.
Oh, I think I killed it. Sorry, I'm just not working proper.
Been there. Oh,
there. Is that working? There we go. Lightning Cosplay. Yeah. I'll learn how to work this one day.
Technology is not the future. I love looking through her stuff, and it's just so. I love kind of how she kind of blends fantasy and sort of the armor look, and it's very talented. But I love finding people like that because it just feels so humbling. Like, kind of, I always think like no matter what you achieve, like there's no reason to get big-headed about it because there's always someone who does it better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's no, for that same reason, there's no point in belittling someone who maybe isn't making. I don't. It sounds really bad to say, but as good a cosplay. There's no reason to go up and say like, "Oh, mine's better than yours," because there's someone better than you, and that's what it comes down. Like, but it's not a big deal. But I just kind of think like it keeps you humble. I think that's really important to not become a cosplay dick.
Yeah. Do you know what I've heard a lot about that there's like, you know, these people that seem to be a little bit too up themselves and a little bit arrogant, and I've not really come across it yet. Which is
I think the thing is, you can step away from it. And like, I know there's a lot of cosplay drama, and I kind of remain ignorant of all of it. Like when I go to conventions and people say like, I go home and everyone's like, oh, well, that was drama con, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't have any drama. I just had a really good time. So I think it kind of comes down to who you surround yourself with. But I mean, there are people out there that obviously they've got their reasons for how they are. I think it's very difficult because obviously a lot of people who cosplay are kind of, even if they're not classic geeks. Like I wouldn't consider myself like your stereotypical geeks. I'm not that much into kind of comic books or gaming or things. Though I am into them, but it's not a huge part of my life as someone you say is a classic geek. But we all kind of have that same kind of feeling of like being an outsider in things. I think that kind of means that we don't deal as well with kind of the situations that we come up against, like having to deal with people who maybe are better than us and how we deal with that. Did things just get real deep? Did anyone just feel that? Because I felt it.
It got really, yeah.
Didn't it? Real deep, real quick. And I kind of think that like I always try really hard not to judge anyone. Like if I hear anything about people, like I'll wait till I meet them and make my own assessment of things. But I always kind of have in my mind that I know, because I mean I'm like that. Like when I was growing up, like I was how I am now. Like I was a bit weird and I was creative and things, and people around me weren't really like that. So kind of I've always kind of felt like an outsider on sort of everything I've done, which is kind of was part of for me. I said on my page, I made a big emotion post about how for me like that felt like the real prize was like the way that the community came and like the people that I hardly ever speak to, but like I admire or I think are great cosplayers who came up to me at the end of the convention and went, "Look, I'm so glad you won. I've been supporting you this whole time," and things. And I was just like, "I didn't know you knew I was alive." You know, it's kind of like it like, and for me it was, and it wasn't even just, it was everyone, like everyone that sent me messages. I came home and I had like a million wall posts of people being like, "Did you win? I feel like you've won." And especially like, and then, or not just even cosplayers, like people in my normal everyday life. Like I went to my horrible job on the Tuesday after LSEC, and people were like so excited and interested in what happened. And like it's so, because for me like cosplay, it's always kind of felt like something external from my real life, and it was kind of bizarre that it kind of had to be. It was my kind of life for a little while there. Yeah.
Do you think it will get as big here as it is in the States?
I would love that to happen, but I mean, I really think it will eventually. But I mean, you can never really tell, can you? Because things like trends come and go. I think there'll always be like a cosplay community and that kind of con scene. But I feel like at the moment it's growing a lot. Like where I live down in Portsmouth, that we've just kind of, I think we've had 2 or 3 that set up their own conventions, which they're very small scale. But for me, like that's kind of like a showing of time that even somewhere kind of as unknown to the real world as where I live is kind of having conventions start up. I've never been to one though, and that's really bad. But it's an anime convention, and I'm not really. I only know Pokemon. I don't want to just tip off as Pikachu. I don't want to be that guy.
You see,
Yeah, sorry, go on.
You mentioned that earlier that like you've done a lot of Disney stuff. You've done a lot of Disney stuff. You mentioned you've got other sort of genres that you'd like to delve into, but you're a bit afraid that because you're not really into it,
yeah.
Why don't you just do it?
That is like I said, it's part of the worry of people just coming up to me and being like, because when you dress up as a character, like you are basically representing that character for anyone that loves that character. So when I'm dressed as Peter Pan, people come up to me and say like, "Oh, I love Peter Pan. It's my favorite Disney films or whatever." And we'll talk about the film, or we'll talk about the book, or we'll talk about anything to do with Peter Pan. And it's like that with pretty much every character I've ever worn. People come up to you and talk to you about it because they're interested, obviously. And I'd hate to be in a situation where I couldn't talk about the character I'm wearing other than the film or whatever kind of small influence I have on it. But one of my challenges for this year is to fake geek. So I will have to wear something that I just don't really know anything about and just deal with it. I'm just going to have to deal with it.
You know what? Fake it until you make it.
Yes.
Definitely. Because when I started this, when I started making props and stuff, like I liked geeky stuff, but I wasn't I played video games, but I wasn't obsessive. I didn't read comic books. I liked movies, but I didn't know every fact about them. So I was kind of like just sort of dibbling into the geekness. And then I started making all this cool stuff because it's cool stuff, it's interesting. Yeah. It's a lot better than making tiny houses, which I was potentially going to do as a career. But I started getting these commissions for different things, and like I'd never fucking heard of Mass Effect, you know, and I knew it was a video game, but I still reckon it's a really, really, you know, good franchise. I would cosplay it, even though I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Simply because I've seen how much joy it brings to other people. The Red Hood character.
I think that's part of the for me. Like when I have done things I haven't known a lot about, like I'll research it because obviously I don't want to be that guy. But I think that's kind of part of the fun of it, is being able to find something that you look at and go, God, that's so exciting. Like I do a lot of the makeup tests I do are things I don't know. I did Handsome Jack from the mystery game. Couldn't even tell you. Like, I don't know anything about that, but I'd seen the makeup on a few people, and I thought it's a really interesting design, the kind of cell shading and things. And I kind of thought that's really interesting. And like if I did it, it'd be something fun to look into, because I know it's the kind of thing I'd be really into if I looked at.
Excellent. I've just had a question pop up here from Pi Bezel, I think. I don't know. That's a weird name. But let's get this question answered. So I think it was directed at you, Ross. You mentioned who you surround yourself with at cons determines the mood of the con. So related to that, how do you actually get into cosplay? They will be heading to their first small con with their own costume later this year, and have no idea what they're doing. So we've got a noob.
I think a lot of people feel like that, and I kind of think. I mean, I was very lucky that I came to cons with friends. I don't know, some of my friends have said like they went to their first con, they were so nervous, and like they sat in their car for like an hour, like thinking like, should I go in? The thing is, people are friendly, I think, at cons, generally speaking.
They're friendly.
I mean, avoid anyone with free hug signs. No, don't. They're okay. They're friendly guys. But like, I mean, the thing, people, when you go to speak to people want to chat and things, and like I say, it's quite a lot in the last interview I did. Whenever I get in from a con, I'll always get like 3 or 4 people that comment on one of my pictures saying, "Oh, I saw you in this, but you look really busy. I didn't want to bother you." And I'm always like, "Please bother me." Like, yeah. I need a distraction from like, you know, crying into not eating for 7 hours. You know, but I do think like you can just go up and talk to people, and like, you know, that's how you make friends at cons. Like my one of my best friends in the whole world, Roxy, who I do like 90% of my cosplays with, our friendship came about. It's one of my favorite stories. When I was doing the Farquad, she was waiting for Emmy, Fairy Porch Queen, and I was waiting for, I think it was Holly at the time, and we were both just like hanging around in the cosplay area, and like we'd seen each other there for like 10 minutes, and I was like, I knew she was waiting for Emmy. I didn't know Roxy personally at the time. I was like, "Oh, you still waiting for your friend?" She was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, should we just pretend to be best friends so they come along?" And we kind of just have ever since. Like, so it's been a couple of years now. Like, she's really dedicated to that lie. Like, I'm pretty impressed by it. But yeah, like that's literally it. And that was obviously, she was kind of someone I knew of in the community. But I'd never had any contact with her prior to that. I think I'd seen her once when she was dressed as Daphne, a couple of conventions before, but I hadn't spoken to her. And like now she's someone I speak to like every day, and whenever I'm feeling bad about costumes, I'm like, "Rosie, why is it working?" And then I force her to do all the costumes that I want to do. Sorry.
So yeah, basically cosplay is friendly. I think if you're going to your first con, you need to just go, because you'll find within a couple of minutes somebody is asking you to take your photograph, or somebody is going to tell you they love your costume, or they love that particular fandom, whatever you choose to be cosplaying as. And within a matter of minutes, you'll forget all those nerves and anxiety, and you'll just be having fun, and you'll meet some lifelong friends. As Ross just said, or you might pretend to be friends for life.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if we're real friends yet. I hope we are, but we could just be pretending. I don't want to bring it up just in case. I feel like it could be awkward.
Yeah. So I don't even think it matters what age you are. It doesn't matter if you're a kid or adult.
I kind of feel like everyone at cons, like I've got bad age perception, but I feel like everyone I meet at cons is sort of my age. You know what I mean? Like, there are people that I'm aware of now that are in their 30s, and I'm like, no.
We're all kind of like children, aren't we? Dressing up.
Kind of, in terms of maturity, we are basically all just 12-year-olds in very fancy costumes.
So who's that? I can't pronounce. Pi Basil, Basil. Well, I hope we answered your question. Go have fun at the con, you'll love it. So Kitri Dulac, my friend Emma has tuned in, and she's got a question. So if I've not misunderstood, London / Ursula was your first competition. Did you enjoy it, and would you compete again?
I did enjoy it. I had such a good time, and it was such a great experience. Everything about it. I might compete again. Like, it's not something I'm saying like no, I'm not going to go get next LSCC I'm going to enter for sure. But it's not something I'd ever rule out. Like, if I had an idea that I thought would be like a good, interesting thing to do, because I think, especially for, I don't know if they're going to change the rules next year, but it was a 50-50 costume performance.
Yeah, that was quite tough.
I feel like that's very difficult, because a lot of people had stunning costumes, but maybe their skits weren't as strong as that costume. So if you had like 100% for your costume, but only 10 points, so if you got 50 points for that, but only 10 points for that, you've only got 60 points. So someone that's got less in each one could do better than you. I do think it was quite difficult in that respect. Yeah, I mean, I might enter again if I get an idea that I think is worthwhile, and it's saying that but I don't. It's not something I'm planning to do. I haven't got something in the back of my mind right now that I'm going, well, maybe in a couple of years I'll come back and. But I mean, if I did do it again, I think I'd probably do a duo entry, just because, like, in terms of, like, I was lucky to have 2 friends that were more than prepared to give up their weekend to help me and support me. Thanks, guys. So I mean, I was very lucky in that respect, but I kind of feel like it would have been more fun for them had they been involved in what I was doing more so. I mean, Roxy has said a couple of things, even though I know she never ever wants to compete. She'd say like, "Oh, maybe one day we could do this," and I was like, "Yeah," but I accept all her suggestions because, I like to pretend.
Would you think about entering the cosplay competition at DragonCon?
No.
They don't do performance.
To my understanding, there's many different competitions. To my understanding, because we're such a big con, they have like different areas. There's like a technical one, there's performance-based one, all sorts of things. But I really wouldn't want to compete in an American one, just because I feel like it's like a whole other level. I know I did actually look into. Here we go. I'm really lying to you. I did look into the D23 competition, because I know one of my friends won it last year, and like, it looked really cool, and I was like, that'd be like amazing to say like I'd won a Disney convention. That sounds really bad. I didn't try that again. It'd be amazing to say like I entered a Disney convention. Oh, terrible! I sound like a horrible person already. I hate myself. Anyway, so yeah, but their rules are only US citizens. So I know they're very specific on. I'd have to look into the rules, that kind of thing. But it's not something I'm definitely not entering for DragonCon or D23.
Okay, but we will see you again competing. I know that for a fact.
Do you think? Okay. I can't trust you.
The hour is just about done, which is a shame because we seem to just
believe.
But I've got one more question that I tend to ask everybody, and I think it's a good one to finish on, because you're obviously quite ambitious and you like to push yourself and challenge new things. What would be your all-time ultimate, no financial obligation, no restrictions, no anything? You can do whatever you want.
I've kind of done it. Like, it was Ursula for me. Although there's a variation in her costume that I would like to do. She has a second costume that she wears in Poor Unfortunate Souls that has like a peacock tail effect with the tentacles. Which I'd love to do, and that would be a much more expensive and time-consuming costume. But I'd really like to do like a really detailed version of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast with like digi-stilts, prosthetics. I'd love to do that, and like, obviously there'd be a lot of hair and things into that. And I know one day I'm going to do that. I can feel it. I can like almost taste it. That one day I'm going to be once again like a puppet inside so many layers of things that aren't me. I always try and be the kind of person that I try to set myself plans. So I just take things as they come. So there's nothing especially that I like. There's nothing that jumps out at me to say like I would do this. Because I think often like the most fun costume I've ever worn is Ken, And that's the simplest costume I made. I literally just made hair for that. Like I bought a shirt, I did some transfers, I bought some shorts, shaved my legs. Like it wasn't. I spent more time on some like single pieces on some costumes than I did in that entire costume.
How many UK newspapers were you on the front page of that?
Well, I don't like to brag, but yeah, like that's the most fun costume I've ever worn, and it's like the simplest and smallest and one of the easiest to do. And for me, that matters more to me than saying like, oh, I spent like $1 million on this singly, wouldn't be $1 million, but like on a personally printed thing. And I think like for me, that's what it is. It's all just about having fun, wearing something I love. My next costume I'm going to make is James from Team Rocket, and I'm so excited. I've waited for James from Team Rocket since I was like 10. It's finally going to happen for me. So for me, it's just maybe the Beast. Let's say the Beast.
That's pretty ambitious. Well, I can't believe that's an hour done already. So what we'll do is give you a chance to plug yourself, where you can find Ross E Cobb Cosplay. So you want to take it away, okay. Give them the links.
Well, let me first of all tell you, I'm kind of like a pensioner. I'm kind of at the limit of my technology knowledge. So it's basically just Facebook. I have got Instagram. I think I'm Ross E Cobb on there. But really, everything goes on my Facebook page. Anything else that I do kind of will come off that. But there's nothing I don't really use Twitter. I have it, Ross E Cobb again, keeping it simple. But it's kind of, again, I just go on once a month, check it's still alive, check everyone's still good on there. So yeah, but Facebook, which is Ross E Cobb Cosplay, is basically the best place to come. I post updates most days. I always do work in progress Wednesdays, unless I'm not working on something, which is very rare. I'm always sharing work of people that I think are interesting to the kind of people that look at my work and that see the same sort of things that I do. So yeah, the long and short of it is Facebook, please come and say hi.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ross, for joining me. It was great fun chatting. We chatted about a lot. I'm looking forward to watching this and writing the notes. Yeah, thanks to everybody who tuned in. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching again. Don't forget to check me out, Sorenzo Props. So again, just Sorenzo Props. Google that shit, you will find it. And subscribe on YouTube, and let me know what you think of the show. If you have any comments or suggestions, and let me know if you'd like anybody else who you'd like me to have on next. So goodbye from me, and goodbye from Ross.
Bye bye.
See you there, guys. Thanks very much.